Oh, it's you. Yeah, you're right there. Wait, are you beachless? Are you a sad little infant baby beta? Do you get your girl stolen by alpha wolves all the time? Well, worry not, man. I got the course just for you. I'm launching a brand new alpha male dating coaching course. Wait, what's that? You don't want to buy my course? Fine. But hey, maybe it's not so bad. You know, there's lots of people like you. Oh, beta holeless, frame muggable losers, chaz, including romantic composer Robert Schumann. In all seriousness, though, my boy Robert was like actively like going insane, and like meanwhile he had Brahms stealing his girl. Crazy work. He did write an excellent piano concerto though, so it is our duty to analyze it.
Okay, so welcome back. I have upgraded the setup slightly. In fact, I have an entire lecture hall to myself right now, and this really nice um, this really nice top-down camera that we're gonna play with today. So we're gonna be doing our analysis this way. For some reason, it's only black and white. I don't know why, but I kind of don't mind. It's music that we're analyzing, and I think this image is gonna be really nice here. So yeah, we're analyzing Schumann's piano concerto in A minor, and I do have quite a few pages here actually. So maybe we're not gonna do all of them, but we're definitely gonna do some of the parts that I really like. Um, And yeah, this should be a fairly straightforward analysis. Nothing super complex, harmony-wise, should be here. And cool. I mean, we can probably just start. Just like a quick heads up. I'm not gonna be doing like the voicing analysis stuff or the theme analysis stuff that I had been doing in the previous ones, just because of how long this is. And I am mostly going to be doing the harmonic analysis on the voice that's most prevalent at each moment. So, for example, we're gonna have a lot of piano one analysis, but for example, when there's mostly orchestra playing, we're gonna switch to that. So it's gonna be like one or the other mostly, because even for the parts that they are playing together, they should mostly be playing the same stuff harmonically. So we're gonna get about one or the other at a time. Cool. So, of course, we are at the context of A minor, and I guess where should we write it? I guess we will always write our analysis before the or sorry, after like below piano 2. So we are in A. Um, this is an implied 5, but again, implied, so what who really cares about that? So here we have a 6 chord, and the melody here is really jumpy. So before we do any of these analyses, let me just think of how we can format this. Uh, I mean, this is a 5 sharp 5 of this, right? That makes a lot of sense to me, so I'm gonna write it that way. Here we have a 4 for this D minor chord, basically, and we have a 5 off 4 for that. And then we switch on to, oh, this is nice. Let's see what's the best way to write this. Probably this is a Neapolitan chord, which is really cool. Um, how should we write this again? A 5, sharp 5 of the Neapolitan. And I guess these are second inversion chords, right? Yes, they are second inversion. So they are all second inversion. These are first inversion, um, again first inversion, and again second inversion here. Uh, and for the sake of, wait, no, we need to do this real quick. 1 6, and then that's 5, second inversion again. Cool. And then the rest of it, for the sake of time, I'm gonna omit this. Um, Under the pretense that it is exactly the same harmony over here. So I'm omitting all of this. And I'm gonna analyze these two. This is a 4 chord and 1 6 4. You can call it. You can also call it. No, you could not call it that. But it's best to call this a 1 6 4 chord into a 5 7. Yes, that's right. I mean, 5 just for the orchestra, 5 7, considering there's this D here. And finally, we're in the main melody now. Um, 1. Cool. So this theme is going to be really cool. It's throughout this first movement. Oh, I forgot to say that I will basically only be analyzing the first movement and a little chunk of the third one. Um, Maybe it's the fourth. No, I think it's the third one. The last movement, in a regard. So 5 4 2 here. Again, really, really simple harmony, basically. But he does do a lot with it. Uh, just cause, I mean, I don't know, it's Schumann. He's like, this is like a very, very iconic theme, and I personally like it very much. So let's get into this 4 chord, but it will be a 4 with 7 or a 9 rather. So it's a 4 with a 9 that goes to an 8. 5 6 4 to 5 3, which is nice. And what should we label this chord as? This is kind of tricky. Um, I mean, it is. You could label it as. Yeah, yeah. I think you can label this as a 7. Uh, is it fully or half diminished? That would be. Let's see. It's definitely like 7 of this, no inversions, and I think this is only half diminished, which does make sense because is it half diminished or is it full diminished? Oh, it is fully diminished. Yeah, this is a fully diminished one. Cool. Uh, so I want to mark this 4 chord here because that's nice, and all of this. We can mark this entire area. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah, we'll just mark this entire thing as applied to this D minor context. So that would be uh, 2 half diminished this time. So four to half diminished into a five, six, no, a five, because you do have, yeah, it's a 5/7 chord, so it will be a 5/6/5 chord, because you're in the first inversion. There'll be 4/3, then 4/2, yeah. And again, same thing here. I'm now analyzing the ornaments, and then we eventually go back to this 5/6/4 to 5/3 idea and 1. So let's go back here. We have a 4/6 chord here, and we are going to say that this is the 5/4/3 chord I was talking about before, applied to this. And again, we did this before. We are calling this the 7 fully diminished, or rather, yeah, 7 fully diminished of the next thing over here. And I forgot to show this part. That's the 5/6/4 to 5/3 to 1. I guess I can move it upwards. So the only thing left is to figure out what this little thing is. I mean, it seems pretty obvious. I think we can just call that a 2 in the context of A minor. Yeah, yeah, that seems to work well. And then the piano gets the basically the exact same theme and the exact same melody. So there's no point to analyzing that stuff. And that goes all the way to here. Cool. So we need to continue our analysis from this point on. So you obviously have a 1 and then a 6 in first inversion. Or I said I would do it below, didn't I? 1, 6 in first inversion, and then a 5/6, and then eventually you apply this to this 4/6. So this is applied to that, and this is simply a 2. And of course it's diminished. And 6/6 is diminished. And now we pull up to this section where we have a 1 here, and I mean we can call this that standard sort of thing we've been doing, but it goes to a 5/7. I mean I think for the sake of these we'll just call this a 1/6/4 into a 5/7. Cool. This stuff is just a continuation of that exact harmony, but again. So let's go here, where we do get a little bit of change. And just centering it for the camera. Cool. So we're here. We start off with a 6, again, first inversion. Then we get a 7, actually. Yeah, because you don't have the leading tone, so that will be just like a 7. And then you actually go to the 3, which is just C major at this point. I think we can just call this a 7 or a five of three essentially. So let's just get into the context of C major fully here and start analyzing it as such. Um, so you have a one. Let me pull this up. One, uh, four, six, five, six, one, 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 five. And then you go to the three, which is minor. Next page. And I mean, here you're kind of in E minor, uh, which I am going to notate as E minor because you switch really late. Um, so let's just so from the previous page, we were in the minor three of C major, so now we can just analyze that as E minor. So one, five, one. That is going to be a four in the second inversion actually. Then you have five, six, a one, and a one. And as I was saying, this is really easy harmonic analysis. Schumann, this particular concerto is sort of like the start, or rather the concerto that established the romantic style really, really well in the world of classical music. But uh, it's still really, really early on. So he's not doing anything particularly crazy harmonically wise. But let's go back here with four, a second version again. Yeah, that would be correct. And then another five, six. I mean, this is analysis that we've already done. So one, 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 five. And then he goes to the major three, in which point it would be wise to just switch to G major over here. So in G major, one, one, five, one, and we move on to this next piano part where you have a one. Now this is pretty interesting. This goes to a five over here with a D in the bass. So that would be yes, that would be what should we call that actually? A two, four, two, fully diminished. And let me just look up something here really quick. Just making sure my notation is on point here. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't done an analysis in a while actually, so it's really useful to be able to brush this up. Nice. So, um, we were over here, and I mean, we can just go to the four of G major here. Keep in mind the context always. And again, I'm assuming that would be sort of like the same exact harmony, but let's just make sure of that. No, this is actually a seven, 7/7 fully diminished of that four. Cool. And then one here again. And this is we're analyzing in G major. So it would the most useful sort of thing would be to call this. Yes, it would be to call this. And then the harmony repeats, and we come here, where we're gonna go back into C major officially. So let's call this four, or sorry, let's call this one in G major. Let's call this five in C major. So we're analyzing C major again. So you have a one. Um, is it useful to analyze this? I mean, you can say that this sort of implies uh, a. I mean, this is definitely a 4/6. So we can call that a lot of things, actually, funnily enough. I think it would be best to call it either 3/7 full diminished, but that does not. I want to apply it to this uh, F major chord, ideally. Uh, so let's think this through. You could say it's modal mixture and it's taking from, and it's the fourth in some way with modal and mixed, which would give you that D flat over there. But I don't love that explanation either, because we're really, really the thing about this particular chord is it's not giving us a lot to work with. Uh, it's sort of just it's a chord basically created entirely to lead into this one. So the E goes to the F, the D flat goes to the C, the B flat goes to the A. So it's all just semitones, which is really, really nice because you just lead perfectly into that F chord, F major chord. But you don't really want to call it anything. For the sake of calling it something, however, I would have to call it um, this, which is not nice at all, but it's an accurate description of what that chord is. Um, and yeah, really though, you should not be thinking of this as that. It's just take a semitone, take semitone steps, and eventually reach into the F major chord in whatever way you can. That is. But cool, yeah, we keep analyzing in C major. So you have a quick 5/1, cheeky little 5/1 over there. One, cool. And I don't want to analyze any of these because they're just octaves. Uh, it's worth noting that this shape over here is sort of this chord we were trying to figure out before. And I did say it was going to be below piano 2. So it's this over here, and eventually just leads again to that F chord. But this time it's not a first inversion chord. It's just like a regular F. So yeah, um, I'm gonna quickly take a short break, and then I will be back. Okay, so I just left to do a quick check, essentially. And I think I might have set a new goal. We're at about 13 minutes right now. So I don't know if we can do the entire 48 pages that we're left, considering we're on page 6. Um, but I am planning to make this longer than the Chopin ballad analysis, or the analysis of the coda, rather. But I'm probably just gonna take it. for a few more pages, and I do have something at movement 3 that I'm going to analyze and play for you, which should be nice. Where do I want to end this though? I don't want to end it on page 8. I think that's a little bit too soon. Yeah. Oh, I do want this part, right? We'll make it all the way over here. Yeah, okay. We'll make it all the way to this solo part here on page 19, and then I'm probably gonna be off. Cool. So we're over here. Just quickly, I kind of don't want to overanalyze this. But basically just oh, what context are we in right now? I'm gonna say that here we go to 4 in C major, and we're gonna go to F major and call this a 1. So, uh, on the F major context, 1 6, uh, 5 1, um, cheeky little 5 here, 1 6 4, 5. Is it worth it analyzing all of this? I mean, you could call that the. Let's call this a 5, first of all. I don't know if it's worth it analyzing all of this, but uh, just for the sake of doing it, I suppose this chord implies D sharp, F sharp, and A, which is implied, and the C, and that chord is fully diminished again, and it's a chord we have already analyzed, so I'm not gonna analyze it now. Uh, but yeah, in this case, it would not be applied to this C major chord, obviously. But we have done the analysis of that before, and you can look at that. Actually, I might just look at it myself. I know we analyzed this. This was the first diminished chord we analyzed, actually. There it is. Okay, so it was on the first page. We can say that it's applied to the relative minor of F major, that being A minor. Sorry, no, that's completely wrong. That's just a 3. That's just the minor 3. And for that minor 3, or sorry, no, not even that. It would be applied to the 7th, I suppose. Yeah, the 7th, and it'd be a 7th, 7, fully diminished of the 7. So that's very ugly, but just to get it out of there. Yeah. And I mean generally I kinda, as I said, like, I sort of don't wanna analyze this. We generally get like a vibe of a 5/7 with these beats and all. Um but yeah, it's basically fives and ones all the way through. Analyzing it more is not necessarily a pain, it's just sort of uh it's an over-analysis rather, because you're guessing a lot of notes that should probably not, like you're guessing a lot of implied notes is what I'm trying to say. So really, you don't you don't care about implied notes as much as the actual harmony, which the actual harmony is sort of this 5-1-5-1 idea all the time. So here you go to a modally mixed major 3, because the normal 3 of F major is just A minor, but this is, oh sorry, this is 7. Do you get, hmm, actually, now that I see this, I don't think this analysis is the best, because look at this. The next page, you end up landing on this. What's this? Yeah, you end up landing on this 4, or sorry, this 6 chord in the context of F major, which we are going to treat initially, we're going to treat it as a 1 in the context of D minor. So we're going to say that from here and actually all the way up to the previous page, so starting off here, all of this is applied to this chord. So that's the sort of trick here. You need to sometimes look a little bit ahead. So that would be a 5-7 of applied to D minor. Um, Move on to the next page. Finally, so you don't have to switch. This again. Remember this shape again. Um, we're seeing it again here. This, but this time it's a different key, so I'm gonna reanalyze it. This is a 2-7 full diminished. Yes. Okay. Dope. So from here on out, we are analyzing in D minor. Uh, Immediately from the 1, he takes us to the what's this? The 7, or sorry, the 6. Uh, so that would be a 6-6, and he likes that chord, so he uses it for a while. Eventually, he does bring this E over here, but there's absolutely no point in analyzing this E, because this is just preparation, and this is just um, it, suspension note. So you don't actually care about analyzing it within the chord. It's sort of like an appoggiatura, but it's a suspension because it is actually prepared. Cool. Same thing goes for this C over here, which eventually falls back into this B flat. But eventually we do make it to a 1 chord, and this one is actually the 4 of A minor, which is where we are led actually with this 3-7, 3 major 7 chord. You don't get to see this often. That's nice because you also have a leading tone. Sorry, I'm talking about this chord right here, which ends up on the 1. And I should say this is in the context of A minor that we're talking in right now. So you move on to the next thing, which is going to be basically just a 1-6 throughout. And again, same kind of suspension logic we had before, all the way to here, where you eventually end up in G minor with a 1-6 right here. Um, so how do you end up in G minor? Let's figure that out. Hmm. This is interesting. I think we need to switch to make the G minor switch here. So minor four again. Three, sorry, yes, three. What three would that be? That would be a major three. Um, that would be a major three, sharp five, because you have the leading tone. One and one six, or sorry, one six and one six. So that's how that plays out. You kind of need to figure out a way to switch into this thing over here. Hmm. You could go with a neo-Riemannian transformation here, actually. He just sort of like switches the chord, but for the sake of analysis, we might as well call it that. Um, so what's happening here is you go from an A minor chord to a C major chord, and from a C major chord to a C minor chord. So the transformation from A minor to C major would be just dropping the A into a G. And that would mean that you're keeping the C and E, which are major. So it starts off with an R. It's an R transformation initially. It's an RP. That's really nice that we could sort of sneak in a sneaky little Neo-Riemannian transformation in this analysis. So basically just for the sake of demonstrating this, I'm just gonna draw it here. You would have this chord, and this chord. And we start off with this one, we end up with this one. This is your R because you're keeping this greater distance between the C and the E. So the A has to fall on the G. And then you have basically a C major and a C minor, and the way you switch between those is a P parallel transformation. Cool. So essentially, you keep on going. I think it is pointless to reanalyze this stuff in G minor, so I'm not gonna do that at all. Uh, Eventually here, cool, yeah. Eventually here, you you sort of get where would you mark this switch? Yeah, in the context of G minor, uh, this would be that. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, Except that would obviously have yeah, it's missing the F sharp here, which is nice because it basically sort of implies a 1/6 um, for the context of F major, and then you have these five sevens, oh sorry, five four threes into ones into 1/6s and whatnot, and then five four threes again and ones. And 1/6s and whatnot again, and then 5/6 or 5/6/4, which is the same as saying that, oh, I mean, what would you call it? Like a, oh, sorry. like a one in C major again. I said I was gonna do it below 1 6 4 in C major, and here this is not actually an augmented sixth, which it would be really convenient if it were, but it's not. So the best thing we can call this is really a full diminished 6 7, or yeah, well, yeah, just wow. Um, More importantly, in the context of G minor that we were in before, this would be the uh, 7 fully diminished 7. Yeah, but eventually from this, you switch to C major, which is really nice. Again, context of C. So 1 6 5 4 2, 1 6 4 5 4 2 1 6 1 6. Unimportant because already analyzed. Um, this is gonna go to the 2, and this is gonna be applied to the 2, and it's gonna be the this to the 2, or is it? Yeah, it's gonna be that. Uh, no, it's not gonna be that. It's gonna be this to the 2, then it's gonna be 2 6 4 rather, and then eventually 2 6. And this is going to be for 3 fully diminished into this 2. Uh, Eventually just 1 6. Again 5. 5 what? 5 4 3 into an implied 1 into this next line where we end up on the 6th. Which is minor, and we get this 5 7, but in reality it's a 5 4 3 of the 6. Uh, Eventually you end up on this major fourth. This is going to be your 5 4 3 again to this major fourth. And essentially what you're getting here is because we're still in the context of C major, you're basically getting a 5 uh, 9 chord to your 1. Okay, so I will not really be analyzing this stuff because I mostly want to get into one of the later pages and then some stuff about movement 3. So let's go to a place that I actually want to analyze because it's again the same theme, just um, um, in a different key this time. Cool. And this is really convenient because we're still in the context of C major here. So let's analyze this part. It's almost as if we didn't skip all these pages. So cool. So C major here. Oh, I didn't write. C major. 1, 1, 1. And oh no, modal mixture C minor, otherwise known as the P Neumannian transformation I was talking about before. But basically, we're just gonna say that we're in C minor right now. So 1, 1, and oh, Six, major six, and six again. And how convenient this six will take us to A major. Uh, yeah, that's such a standard um sort of operation on keys that I don't wanna like even really get into that much detail. But basically, when you're in your the sixth of your minor key is essentially the one of that key's relative major. So the way we had um, we were over here with a C, an E flat, and an A flat, and that is basically that's the sixth of the major sixth of C minor, and it's also the one of A flat major because they share the same key signature, obviously, because they are uh, sort of a major third apart. So we're analyzing in the context of A flat major. So one, and you have this beautiful melody here that is accompanied by the strings really nicely later. Um, but honestly, it's very simple here. You have this idea of the 1 to 4 again that is so prevalent in this main theme. It's actually like quite ridiculous, but it's fun. It's a beautiful. It's probably the most iconic 1 to 4 um, sort of transition that I know personally, especially with this appoggiatura on the ninth of the four, and actually, which is always the E basically, because keep in mind this is just we're just like working a semitone, a semitone below our original key, or yeah, a semitone below our original key, because this is the A flat major and our original key is A minor. So that's a really nice parallel here, and this is why this particular moment sounds so special. Um, and but this time we don't actually get the bass of the fourth, so that's extra special because like you're keeping this idea of the very peaceful, nice feeling, major feeling A flat, but you do get the appoggiatura, which makes it so uh, just a staple of the romantic style. This 1 to 4 suspension, 1 to 4 transition, especially with the appoggiatura on the ninth of the four, which is the E in both of these cases, the E flat on the A flat major case and the E on the A minor case. So, having yapped about all of that, this is essentially a 4/6/4, if you want to call it that. And you can describe the appoggiatura as 9 to 8. Cool. And here you get this exact same thing, but on the violins and violas, apparently. So it's the same thing again, and the piano is only doing accompaniment. Here, however, you have B, D flat, B flat, D flat, F, and A flat, which is a 2, 4/2, and it's full diminished, right? No, wait, is it? Hmm. It's not quite that. No, I don't think you need to call this diminished. I might be tripping though. Um, Let me think. No, you don't need to call this diminished because it's not diminished. Yeah. Oh. Who would have thought? You don't need to call this diminished if it's not diminished. That's revolutionary. And what do we have here? Essentially, what this entire page is doing, if I had to like title this page something, it would be pedal pedal tone A flat. Because that's the entire idea of this entire thing. So I'm not gonna analyze the fact that the bass. I'm not gonna take the bass into account here. I'm just gonna analyze the rest of the notes. So, for example, it would be this tetrad right here. So E flat, G, D flat, B flat, and that is actually a 5/7 over A flat. Same thing, but um, 9 to 8. And same thing for that last measure. And we want to end that here is 1 with a 4/3. That is interesting right now because we are going a little more firmly on this 5 idea over here. So this is going to be applied. Always nice to see applied chords. It's going to be a 5/7/5. Easy. Now this is fun. Yeah, this is really fun because it's again a P transformation. Otherwise, just modally mixed 5. 5 minor. Minor 5 chord. Um, and then you end up with this idea of this is not fully diminished either. Just a 5/4/2 again modal mixture here. Moving on to the next page. Actually, yeah, I think I wanna go to B into B flat minor here. B flat minor, that'll be a 1 in B flat minor. So I think I'm gonna say that all of this stuff is actually applied to this B flat minor context. So I'm just gonna call this a 4, a 4/4/2 in B flat minor. I'm gonna call this a 2, uh, fully, not fully, 2 half diminished, uh, in B flat minor, and I'm gonna call this a 5/7 in B flat minor. Cool. Now this is very similar chords. I'm just gonna do this verbally, probably, or actually, I can write it. We do have the time. Um, this is again that we have fully switched to the B flat minor context at this point. Um, I'm gonna call this the 2/6/5 half diminished here. I'm gonna call this a 5. Yeah, just a regular 5, not a 5/7 this time, because you would need to have the E flat. Now I'm gonna call this the 5/4/2, and I'm gonna call this the 2/7 half diminished. I'm not gonna call this anything, but just implies a C major chord, essentially just to lead into this. I mean, you could call it a five uh, um, without the C, I guess. Omit the one of our actual five, of our actual 5/7 rather, because you do have the E flat. And then again, cool appoggiatura here, which is the that idea of the main theme I was talking about before with the appoggiatura on the E to the but this time in a completely different harmonic context, which is why this is cool in this case. So you could call this 1 4 3, I guess. And is this worth analyzing? Yes, okay. I'm gonna analyze this. So let's start off with a 1. I'm gonna write over here. Keep in mind B flat minor context. Um, we're gonna say that this is a 4/6 is what we are going to say that is. And this is a 4/6 still. This is a, I don't know why I'm skipping this one. This should be easy. This is just, yeah, this is just a 1/7. Or sorry, 1/4/4/2. And this is a 5/7, or sorry, 5/4/3, because it's second inversion of the 3 uh, of this 4 chord. Now, this is kind of interesting. We're gonna say that this is the no, in fact, we're gonna go over here and say that here we're on the major 3, i.e., we are on the D flat major 1. So the relative major of B flat minor. Let me zoom out a little bit here, just so we can see all the context. Cool. So, I mean, let's figure this out. So, I'm gonna say that these two for now are definitely applied, and they're applied to the major third, which is again the first chord of D flat major over here. Um, so these are definitely applied, and these are the 5/6/5, sorry, 6/5, and the 5/7 of 3. Now, what is this? Hmm. This could be completely respelled, actually. That's interesting. Or, now that I think about it, yeah, I think this F flat over here, I think you can just consider that. You can respell that as an E natural, which would help more because then it's just a fully diminished chord. But where would that chord be applied? It couldn't apply to the next chord. Oh, but we're in the context of B flat minor. So you could say it applies to the fifth of that. Yeah, that's a nice description of what's going on here. So yeah, I'm gonna analyze this once I have it written down. Okay, it's this. So what's going on here? Let me zoom in. We are right over at this measure. So what's going on is he gives us a chord which is basically E natural, G, B flat, D flat, right? Which is essentially the seven chord which is fully diminished, and in its third inversion, that would normally lead to the five of B flat minor, which would be basically just an F major chord, right? So he wants us to think that, oh, you're going to F major. You're going to that very stable sort of idea there. But instead of that, he gives us A flat major, which is that may be a hexatonic fall. No, no, it's not exactly a hexatonic fall, but it's basically a minor third above the chord that we are expecting. And the minor third sort of key transitions are really, really popular and actually work really well. It's just he doesn't actually do it here. He just immediately gives us the A flat major. Cool. So now we only have a few stuff left. We have this idea of D flat major right now. So one, one sharp five, so one seven, sharp five, I guess, and then back right back actually into. Is he really doing this? No. Okay. Cool. Cool. Okay. Yeah, he's going to the minor six, which is just B minor again. Ends up on the 5/7, and yeah, just 5/7 that entire measure. Goes to the fourth, which is the A flat major, and then has this really interesting chord that leads him to a six, which is again B flat minor, into a 5/7, and eventually into a one here. So only thing we have left to do is figure out what we can name this thing, and keep in mind that the six comes right after it. So let's figure this out. This is actually very easy. Um, you can see we have an A natural, a C natural, an E flat, and a G flat, which is essentially, oh, I guess there's not much space for that to show well. We're over here in this measure. That is essentially a seven chord applied to the first of B minor, and its second inversion, so that would be 4, 3. Yes, that's correct, and it's fully diminished if I'm not mistaken, and I'm not mistaken, it's fully diminished, so that's cool. Another cool applied chord. Cool, so we are done with everything I wanted to analyze out of the first movement. The rest sort of just like bunch of stuff, really. Uh, it's again, this is mostly just for practice, so there's no point in analyzing the entire thing unless there's some really harmonically interesting parts, which, as I said, throughout the throughout the Schumann piece, um, I mean, I don't want to throw no shade, but there really aren't those kind of moments. Um, so nothing particularly out of the ordinary for the rest of the movement, but I do want to point out this quick little cycle of fifths at the very end, which, if you know me, you know I love cycles of uh, fifths. And I'm actually gonna play this so that you guys can hear how beautiful this sounds. Now, a cycle of fifths is a really standard harmonic progression and it's way overused in classical music. So if you're composing your own piece, don't just immediately default to doing that. I think it's generally bad practice to overuse this. But for your climax of the piece you're composing, they're really, really useful because they just inspire the human brain in some way that, oh, what is happening right now is really epic, sort of. So I'm not gonna analyze what comes beforehand, but let's just look at the bass here. See why it's called a cycle of descending fifths. So, our context immediately A major. We have D followed by G. Here there's a change of clef, so you can't really see it all well, but I'm gonna point it out here. G, um, followed by C sharp. Previous one was a G sharp as well. Followed by a sorry. Right. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. It's over here. Um. So an F sharp and into a B. So what do you notice? You're starting off from your D natural. You go a perfect fifth below that, or rather, not a perfect fifth, just a fifth, essentially. Um, and where do you end up? Not a perfect fifth in this case, I mean, just a fifth. You end up on your G sharp, and then this time it's actually a perfect fifth. But if you go 5 notes below your G sharp, you end up on your C sharp. And equivalently, 5 notes below that, you end up on your F sharp. And 5 notes below that, and this time it's again a perfect fifth, you end up on your B. So that's why it's called a cycle fifths or a cycle of descending fifths. And this harmonic progression is super, super, super incredibly standard. But it just sounds absolutely beautiful, especially when you pair that with the harmonic progression that I'm gonna show you right now, which is basically just a bunch of seventh chords. Um, so what's essentially happening is he's not giving us a 4, he's giving us a 4/7 because there exists this C sharp. And you really don't care about anything that's happening in between. Like, if you see the piano part, it's just arpeggios until the next change. And I mean, there's some melody in the strings here, but you sort of kind of don't care. It's this 4/7 into these 7/7, half diminished in this case. And eventually you go to these 3/7. And finally you reach the sixth. It's a minor six, but it's a six, seven again. So this super cool, and then one final thing, you eventually go to a um. I mean, I would usually mark like a change of key maybe here, but it's a uh 2 7. Yeah. So that's just sort of like a super cool progression. And all these seven chords stacked on top of each other, they just make this super cool effect. And I'm gonna go play this for you right now. So I hope you enjoy that. And that's the end of our analysis for today. So it's been almost as much as the ballad, I think, at this point. But yeah, super cool piece. Let's hear this progression for the piano one part. Yeah, see ya. And thus, he made a statement so theoretical, even his gang harmonized with him. So yeah, that's the video for today. Um, I don't think I have anything else for the outro, like low key. But yeah, see you in the next one. Probably Mahler Symphony 2 Resurrection Symphony.